For weeks and even months, the fastener industry has speculated about a certain looming and momentous issue. The uncertainty and suspense will be put to rest during the upcoming Las Vegas Fastener Show when the color of this year's Stealthfast Monkey is finally revealed. Oh wait, there was another issue that was swirling around too lately, and news of that broke on Friday, October 11th. Master distributor Brighton Best International acquired Porteous Fastener Company. That's right, big news, folks. And here to help us with the highlights of that move is Mr. Steve Andrasik. He's the Vice President of Sales for BBI. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Thanks for having me, Eric. I appreciate you making the call.
Well, this is huge news. Can you give us just the highlights of what went on?
Well, Eric, like you said, last Friday we inked a deal with Porteous Fasteners to merge the companies and create a much bigger, stronger combination of the two companies, Brighton Best International.
Well, this certainly is a powerhouse, and people are going to be speculating on this for a long time, and certainly at the Vegas show coming up. I don't know if you can announce this yet. There's a lot of transition going on. We all know that, and details will be forthcoming. This is just the fact in any kind of a merger of this scale. But can you tell me this? What is the real value that Brighton sees in Porteous? I mean, is it just taking a competitor out? Is it getting the customer list? I mean, where's the value?
Eric, I don't think it's those two things at all. I think the value really comes in the efficiencies that these two good companies bring together. The strength that these companies bring, a broader product line. Great people. They're two great companies, two very good companies. Porteous strong for all these years. Brighton Best is the same. So the merge of these two companies are going to make, we think, one real dynamic company going forward.
I think that's an understatement. What kind of headcount are we talking about here?
I guess on the Brighton Best side, we're probably north of 250, and the PFC side probably right around 200. So that's quite a monster to get your arms around at this point.
Yeah, in this industry, that's absolutely true. Now, I don't know if the decision has been made on this yet. Do you know, will both companies remain as independent entities, or will they roll into one? How do you see that unfolding?
Eric, I'd say down the road that they'll all roll into one. That'll take some time, though. I would expect. We'll run both companies independently for a while and combine them as it makes sense. But right now, it's business as usual, and we're excited to do business with the Porteous customers and the Brighton Best customers alike. So it's business as usual right now.
Now, what message are you sending out to Porteous customers? I know they're probably asking all kinds of questions. What are we telling them?
Really, we're just welcoming them, and I think we want to get them all on board and try to answer any questions they may have. A lot of the customers, we do business with similar customers, obviously, but there are quite a few that that have loyalties or commitments to one or the other. We're trying to welcome both customers in with open arms. Makes
sense. Now, do you have any timetable for further announcements on the roll-up, or is that really is it too early for that?
Eric, it's only been a couple of days, and I would say that this is a work in progress. So at this point, I think it would just be a lot of speculation. But I think we'll move things together as it makes sense. We'll roll computer systems as that makes sense, and we won't rush rush anything. I think at this point we'll just make sure that when it's the right time, we'll incorporate the computer systems, the IT systems, and those kinds of things. Brighton's IT system's very strong, and so and we're real proud of it. So we'd like to get that out there as quickly as we can.
Now, I didn't see any changes to the floor plan at the Vegas show. Is everything going to pretty much roll ahead as was intended before the announcement?
Yeah, it is. We'll have Brighton and Porteous people, or at this point, all Brighton people down at both booths. So stop by and visit with us, and and we have a cocktail party right after the show on Thursday. So that'd be great.
That's always a big event. That happens Thursday after the first long day of the show. And I'm sure everybody will look forward to meeting with you and the Porteous folks, and everybody's going to be talking about it, let's face it. So I I know you'll be answering questions as you're able. And I appreciate it, too. I know it's a little bit tumultuous. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining us. And I just want to leave you with one other question. Since it is Vegas and people are speculating, you got your money down on any particular color for this year's Stealthfast monkey?
Eric, that's always a big question, but I'm going to go with red.
Red, okay. We're going to put you down for how much? You don't answer.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, once again, appreciate you joining us on the show, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you, Eric.
It's Fully Threaded Radio.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
The federal government is back in business, folks, so we figured we'd better put another episode out. That's right. It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is online Fastener Talk Radio. I'm Eric Dudas. He's Brian Musker. Well, Brian, the world could hardly get much weirder.
Why? I mean, the fact that no one noticed that the federal government is working again.
Well, to tell you the truth, I was directly impacted last weekend. We were going to go on a hike in one of our favorite little forest areas, and lo and behold, never thought of it. Drove right up, and the whole place was so-called closed. I noticed a bunch of people had parked by the side of the road and gone into the forest anyway. I guess all the people who would prevent that were furloughed, but we didn't. We just split.
Yeah, you decided to be good law-abiding citizens.
Something like that.
Unusual for you.
On the other hand, Steve Andrasik's guess of red this year on the Stealthfast monkey was pretty predictable, I suppose. So there's a little order in the world.
What? BBI red.
That's what I was thinking, too. Of course, that's the big news, and it couldn't get much stranger. And we'll begin to absorb all of that with you on the episode today, folks. And this happens to be episode 72 of Fully Threaded Radio. We're publishing just a bit behind schedule this time on October 19th, 2013. Rob Lucas of Fidelis Fasteners weighs in today with his thoughts on the Brighton Porteous deal and what it might mean for the industry. On the Fastener News Report, Mike McNulty is joined by Holden Lewis, and they dissect the weak FDI reading from last month and also discuss the prescient supplemental question that deals with the consolidation of master distribution. And to kick it all off, we'll be joined in mere moments by Don Solution Man Shan. There's a lot going on over at Solution Industries, Bry, including a new location and some new faces.
Right.
And not surprisingly, Don has a few thoughts on the big news of the day as well. And it's all straight ahead, Bry.
The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stealthfast and Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Stealthfast for service you deserve and people you trust. Trinity Hardware Headquarters for parts done right. Also, Buckeye Fasteners, Volt Industrial Plastics, Fastenal, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. We thank these sponsors, and we're glad that they like being associated with a great product like Fully Threaded Radio.
Well spoken. We're glad they're all open for business, Bry.
Yeah. Hope they stay that way for a long time.
Well, we're not taking anything for granted. We're going to keep working hard, and we'll begin to do so right after this. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stealthfast. Since 1976, Stealthfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stealthfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
First, there was fire, and man said,
"Fire, good."
Then there was the wheel, and man said,
"Wheel, good."
With the invention of the wheel came the need for fasteners, and man loudly exclaimed,
"Buckeye, good."
Buckeye Fasteners, providing quality products since the dawn of man. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud fastener show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt Beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman.
Tell 'em Grog sent you. Ugh.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plough bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
Hi, this is Pam Berry with Women in the Fastener Industry. Wi-Fi invites you to our 4th annual speaker series and networking event at the National Industrial Fastener and Mill Supply Expo. Join us on October 23rd at 2 p.m. for a riveting panel discussion on making an impact in the fastener world. Learn from 5 stellar women as they share their expertise on manufacturing, importing, distribution, and repping. Bring your business cards and prepare to connect with other professionals during the Wi-Fi networking event, and win prizes during our raffle, which supports Wi-Fi scholarships. We hope you will join us on October 23rd at 2 p.m. Connect in Vegas at Wi-Fi. Visit fastenerwomen.com for more information. See you there.
Hey, this is Clayton Allen from Buckeye Fasteners in Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you. A virtual 2-man super committee of fastening.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I think I like being part of a super committee.
Yeah. Well, you really don't have to do anything, and the benefits are great.
I know. And when you retire, you get looked after for the rest of your life. I think I want to be one of those.
Oh, man. Well, there's going to be a super committee at the show this year, and of course I'm thinking of the Vegas show, and that committee is probably going to be lined up right in front of the Buckeye Fasteners booth, because I got on good word from Larry Kelly that there's going to be old Rusty Bolt flowing fast and furious right out of that location this year, Bri.
Wow. Well, I hope I can sort of get away from the booth long enough to run over there and get a glass, actually. It'd be nice.
Buckeyes set up in booth 1043 this year at the Las Vegas show, everybody. And, of course, that's coming right up. Some of our other friends will be there as well. See Stellfast at booth 809. Trinity Hardware Headquarters will be in 827. And Solution Industries 1022. That, of course, all on your way over to the FCH booth, which is in 1704 this year, Bri.
Right. And I encourage all of our members and prospective members to make sure they stop by, say hi, and don't sort of, if we're caught up, speaking to other people, then make sure you butt in and say hi. Okay, don't just stand and walk away.
That's right.
Especially if you see me caught up in a discussion on whether the web is actually a viable place to do business, which we always have a number of those.
You still having that conversation?
Oh yeah, every year. And the other one, which is the big problem, that if they put their stuff online, their own customers might see other versions of it. Okay, so that's fine. If your customer service is great, your customers will stick with you. It's an interesting thing, but I look forward to it. It's fun time, and we'll have a lot of fun at this show, I think.
How could you not? Well, folks, we're, of course, talking about the Vegas show, and we're talking about FastenersClearinghouse.com, the FCH sourcing network. Hopefully you're all out there using our network when the need comes up to find hard to find or fill in type of an item. On the other side of that coin, we hope that you're out there with us. Listing your inventory will drive sales your way. I also should have mentioned, Bri, that our booth this year is situated, I think, fairly strategically. We'll be right next to Mike McNulty on the other side of the aisle. We'll have some of our friends over from the NFDA and Pac West. And along with us this year will be the lovely and talented Lynn Dempsey.
That's correct. Yes. So we'll have even more reason to come to the fully Fasteners Clearinghouse booth.
It's going to be quite a package. Plus, we have an amazing handout this year, which is, we won't give it away, but let's just say it this way. It's very patriotic.
Well put.
Of course, on Thursday, the 24th, Traveling Salesman has been really, really working on this one. He's got a big group of people heading out to the Bourbon Room at the Venetian after the show. Things will probably get started, I would imagine, about 9 p.m. or so. It's a little bit of a later party that happens over there after most people have gone to dinner and they've gone to their sanctioned open houses and so forth. So this is going to be some outlaw renegade fastener partying going on, if I know one thing about this industry.
Right. That's what they know that the industry for. Okay. I have to say, I did not stay till the end last night. In fact, shortened visit. Okay. But it was still fun while I was there.
Yeah, well, knowing you're going to grab a whole bunch of literature from the show floor and go back to your suite and read it. Like, for example, the Trinity Hardware Headquarters expanded catalog. He's got like 1,100 new items in that catalog this year, I hear, Bri, and you're probably going to snag one of those and run off and go and start studying it right away, aren't you?
I'm sure, yeah, because I've got to make sure that all the descriptions are right. God forbid the scrubber makes another mistake, okay?
Well, Dan Zender and the Trinity crew never stop. That catalog is getting more and more impressive. So,
right.
I know that's something you're going to be looking forward to.
Yeah, thank you. I dream of things like that.
You know, Bri, last episode we were talking about the latest Link magazine, and on the cover, of course, is Solution Man from Solution Industries. Remember that?
Yeah.
Pretty good article. Well, here with us to discuss that, direct from Middleburg Heights, Ohio, is the one and only Don Solution Man Shan. Hey, Don.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Eric. How are you?
How you doing, mate?
Congratulations on that cover, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a lot of hard work went into that, and when you see it, obviously it comes blasting off the page.
Well, it sounds like last time, of course, you were on with us, the theme was a company about nothing, and I don't think that's what Solution Industries is anymore, man.
Right.
It's a company that evolves all the time. 3 times a year, we're changing something up all the time. It's a crazy time right now to be in the fashion world, as you already know.
Oh, yeah, to say the least. Well, we'll certainly get to that in a few minutes, but why don't you give us the high-level snapshot view of what's going on at Solution?
Solution is growing leaps and bounds. We've just expanded into 35,000 square feet, which includes a ton of more equipment to do a lot of secondary process work. Most of our business has increased from last year in almost every product line, and what we're seeing right now is the adding of new equipment to carry on more processes, which has really grown our business tenfold. We're actually adding more packaging equipment because we're introducing a full packaged fastener line, which will include all socket products as well as grade 5s and grade 8s, nuts, flats, and locks. So we're busy. We're launching new ideas and we're moving forward. I mean, we're always looking for new things to do. We did recently bring in a couple new players, and again looking for A players to try to get some things moving forward. We brought on 2 new veterans. They're both 15-plus year veterans. One is Mr. Frank DeVito, who came over from Porteous Fasteners.
Wow.
Which at one point he was a district manager. I believe it was a district manager, covering anywhere from Cleveland East. And obviously, for obvious reasons, that is an A player to us because he's one of them salt-of-the-earth guys that has just an impeccable reputation, and he's going to be just a great mix for what we do. And he's going to be handling the same thing in our area. He'll have some managerial roles as well as bringing over some of the things that he helped develop in the Porteous world to Solution Industries.
Well, we've heard the same thing about Frank many times, and we've got him on the line with us as well. So, hey, Frank, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Congratulations on joining a great expanding team.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are too kind, for sure. But, my draw to solutions is just the diversity. I mean, I came from distribution prior to my time at Porteous, and you think about the value-added services that solutions can provide on the secondary side. I would have loved to have cut one PO, not have to send out the plate, specials and drill parts. We can, you think about the soft cost involved in it. You don't really realize how much time is spent and energy on that front. But Don mentioned a few things as far as the where the expansions are, and hopefully familiarity with the distribution base and relationships, we can kind of expand that and grow the business.
Now you got somebody else on the team too. Who's that, Don?
We do. Mr. Kelly Polars was a old Screws Industries veteran. Again, he's had a diverse background from the import world to the manufacturing world, and I think he started a little bit in distribution. So the pedigree's there to be able to really expand that market, and figure him as a Midwest guy that we're not real big in titles in our company because we all feel we all pull the ropes the same way, but he'll be responsible for the Chicago area and growing a branch there and kind of maybe opening up some things in that neighborhood.
Hey, Kelly, welcome to the show. And how did you get messed up with this whole group, the Solution crew, in the first place?
I'll tell you, they're a great bunch of guys. Solution Industries was actually one of my customers. And so I had an opportunity just to meet everybody at some of the different Midwest Fastener Association get-togethers, and just had a lot of fun just talking with Don and John. Their leadership and their passion, just for the company itself, the industries, was, exactly what I was looking for. So just real excited to be able to join them and, again, just provide an outlook in Chicago and hopefully build a business out here and give everybody an opportunity to get products more quickly, save some money.
Now, just to be clear, this is discussed in the Link magazine story, but what exactly is going to be taking place, Don, at the Chicago facility?
I think the whole goal of the Chicago branch here is to open up the Midwest to one-day ship points. We really can't get there now in one day. We can get to Chicago, but I can't get to Minnesota. So that branch is basically going to help us open up the Midwest to one-day ship points, whether it be Iowa, Minnesota, things of that nature. And then along with the volumes that we've increased, we've been able to reduce our costs in a lot of different areas that now we're able to offer pallet rate freight. So we can get as little as a $1,000 order with prepaid shipment We have that now in some of the closer states to us, all the way into Chicago, but we can't get past that without having a branch there. So it's really gonna open up the Midwest to us. With who knows where plans may be. We'll be out in LA one day. Who knows?
This is a pretty major strategic sort of move for you, then, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we think it is. I mean, the business is certainly there. We just what we were missing, and we had this concept and idea for a few years. Even talking to John Riddell about it, we were just he knows I wanted to be in Chicago. Our hardest thing to do was to find an aggressive young player to put there, and you really have to have somebody from that area. And I don't know, we seem to be more lucky than good because Kelly, Kelly's a vibrant personality, and you get together with him. He's just a good kid, and he works hard, and it just kind of fell together there. So we think with his drive and determination, if we could just add some products that he can do in that area, as I tell him, we don't have to hit home runs right away. All we got to do is be persistent in our work ethic, and we'll get that thing moving.
Now, is interest in following the White Sox a necessary part of doing business?
Yeah.
What do you say, Kelly? Anything to add to that?
No, it's always fun to mix businesses with pleasure. So going to the different games and different get-togethers, the golf outings. The thing about our industry is that not only are we trying to provide a service for everybody in the industry and just to improve upon that, but you also got to get out and get together and just really meet people on a personal level. I think that helps certainly just improve upon their business, our business, and just do very positive things going forward. Getting to know people on that personal level is all definitely part of the business.
Right.
I think we're all in agreement on that one. Now, turning to you, Frank, obviously the big news, it's Splashdown, and it's the big PFC BBI news. You might have some special perspectives in this area. Do you see any new holes opening up where maybe Solution can jump into the void?
I want to say I was blessed to work for the Porteuses. It was just a great atmosphere as well. But I think, on more of the poor print special type quotes, that's probably a good attraction we can bring there as well, from that side of it. And, who knows where the opportunities out there. I mean, we kind of sold your kind of standard product, and that was it. Things kind of, we didn't have the opportunity to divulge much into smaller run type stuff that is outside the standards box. So I think that areas where we can make some progress there and snag up some of that business that we may have passed on previously. So. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think at any point, as a distributor, you're looking to get a product to your customer the least expensive way and the most cost-effective way, touching is the least amount of times as you can. And with the way Solutions is set up, we can take advantage of that. And private label special package, as Don had mentioned, they're expanding that. There's just so many options here to bust into different markets, and hopefully we can take advantage of them.
Yeah, well, we're not going to be shocked when you do, because I've sat in a couple of the bull sessions over there, and there's no shortage of ideas flying around. So, Don, this is going to be a smorgasbord of new ideas for you guys, I'm sure.
I got to ride with them at the PA for a couple hours there and back, and it was a little tough to keep up with Don. So.
Well, Eric, you really hit it on the head when you said bull sessions.
We were thinking of the Chicago Bulls. Okay.
Don, a moment ago you mentioned John Riddell. He, of course, is your longtime partner in Solutions Industries, and certainly didn't want to let the discussion pass without bringing that to the forefront. And I'm sure that the two of you have some interesting things planned for the upcoming Vegas show. And what are they?
We do have a few things. I just wanted to touch base just a quick second on this Porteous BBI thing, because you were just talking to Frank and let it whereas there'd be a void, and that void is basically going to come, in my mind, with the rigidness of what Brighton's going to have to become in putting their arms around both of them companies. They're not going to have the flexibility to continue to do some of the secondary process things that they do, and I think that's really where our fit's going to become, because as they become more rigid, we become more flexible, and we're able to work out programs with distributors that are looking for that flexibility in order to be creative and keep their minds flowing and see the real value in buying all that product complete. So IDEA as a whole doesn't look to be a very good thing for the industry because of somebody holding all that inventory in one spot. But in the next breath for us, we're excited to partner with Brighton and to see where we can help them grow together. So successful companies pretty adapt to change quickly. I mean, that's what I think we do. We're always thinking out of the box, and we're always trying to get them A players. So with that in mind, that Las Vegas show is really going to be a lot of fun for us. We're still going to do, I mean, last year's buzz was that beer crawl they had in a few places. So we do have our brand new glasses that are coming out this year that basically have the Las Vegas theme on them, or the National Fastener show on there with a date, and they look really good. We're really going to raise the bar this year because we have a human transformer is going to be there in the form of Solution Man. So
nice.
The guy will be able to walk down and ride through the halls as a motorcycle, or stand up and walk as a transformer. So it's going to be really fun just to watch some eyeballs pop out of their heads.
Oh, that is great, and I'm sure Kelly and Frank must be relieved, because earlier I know you were going to make a coin toss, and the loser was going to have to actually dress up as Solution Man.
Right.
Yeah, they were both sweating that one.
Right.
So,
oh boy.
You know, obviously people are going to be buzzing on that one throughout the hall. I can't wait to see it. That's what we need, is a little excitement. Hell, your business will probably go up 10% just on account of that. What else do you think people are going to be buzzing about? You know, it's going to be that and the big BBI PFC news. What else do you think is coming down the pike?
That's going to be the big news. The BBI Porteous thing is really going to be big, and I can't even fathom how they're going to put their arms around it with the people they have. But, you know, they have a good, experienced team, so we made some strategic moves this year. We put our booth right across from theirs, so we'll get all the overflow.
Wow.
That's gutsy, man.
Now, is it also possible that the blue Solution Man shirt will be circulating somewhere at the show, do you think? I mean, I'd like to make a special plea that we play the Cinderella trick, and at like the stroke of one, the person wearing the shirt has to go straight back to his hotel room.
Yeah, well, there was a special people wore that last year, so you have to be careful. That's a big chest to fill.
Not that I'm particularly picking at anyone.
Well, right back at you, I'm going to have to suggest that since you're going to have all these pint glasses, and right down the aisle there at Buckeye, they're going to have the Old Rusty Bolt flowing. Kelly, keep your nose clean.
Oh, that's perfect for me. We're thinking ahead.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to find the traveling salesman this year as he roams the halls, and he's kind of short guy, so got to be on the lookout.
Yeah, it depends how many palm trees they have, because he hides behind them.
Well, I don't think we're going to have too many problems there. One way or another, it's all going to be another show, and you guys, I'm sure, are going to make a big splash. Any final thoughts on that whole subject, Don?
I think I covered most of it. I mean, I'm going to wait till the dust settles here, because I do think that they really have to figure out how they're going to approach the market and hopefully support the market in the future. I mean, the dust should really settle before, and there'll be a lot of buzz in that at the show. And they tell me it's going to take 2 to 5 months. So 2 to 5 months to let the dust settle, get the inventories in the right spots, and move forward from there. So it should be an interesting year. We do think that we're going to be able to make a splash with mill shipments. So that's just another area that we're going to. It's going to be another one part of our bowl sessions, if you want to call it that.
Well, Don, that all sounds real good, and people can get a hold of you before the show, as always, at your website, and that's solutionind.com. And we sure do appreciate you and your crew joining us on Fully Threaded. Look forward to seeing y'all out there.
Well, thanks for having us on the show. We really appreciate the exposure. It's fun to be able to get the word out to the land that we're still around, and we can start the early rumor of the Solution Industries acquisition of BBI next year.
Oh, God, not another 800-pound gorilla in the corner.
Oh, man, we never stop taking risks on this show, but we sure do enjoy it. And thanks again, gentlemen, and we will see you there. And we'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
They're like more cowbell for the fastener industry. Brian and Eric. Fully Threaded Radio.
My customer sent me a print for a bolt specifically for the machine in his shop, but we can't make it.
Solution Man can. Provide me with a print, and my superhuman CNC machining team will custom make it for you faster than a manufacturer's rep drinking at an open bar. Visit the Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Wow, that is fast.
So are you at the distributive social, huh?
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plow bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware headquarters, for parts done right. Hi everyone, it's Brian Musker. If you're listening to Fully Threaded, then you're no doubt aware of the FCH sourcing network found at fastenersclearinghouse.com. You've probably also heard about our legendary scrubber software that makes listing your inventory on FCH a snap. But have you heard about the new FCH SmartLink interface? With SmartLink, users of Business Edge, InSequel, and Distribution One have a new weapon in the war against excess inventory, because each of these platforms now links directly to the FCH scrubber system through an automated interface. The best part is that this new tool is available at no additional charge to FCH members who use Business Edge, InSequel, or Distribution One. With SmartLink, you can keep your inventory listings up to date with the click of a button, so it's a win-win for all FCH users. The new FCH FastLink interface is really big news, and we'll be thrilled to have your company using it. Business Edge, InSequel, and Distribution One users should contact their software provider for details, or just call me, Brian Musker. You can reach me through the FCH website at www.fastenersclearinghouse.com. That's fasteners with an S, and the S is for scrubber.
This is Jim Saracini with Accurate Industrial Supply. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
So you never did say, Bri, do you have any guesses on the color of the monkey this year, the Stelfast monkey?
No, I try not to, there's only certain battles you choose, the ones you know you can win, and this one is absolutely not one I can win, so I'm very happy to get surprised every year, okay?
You sound like a Republican senator.
Double talk. I'm not quite talking out of both sides of my mouth, though. And I don't get paid nearly as much as them, and I don't have free healthcare and massive retirement benefits. So I'm nothing like a U.S. senator.
Okay, well, here's something maybe you will comment on. Last year, you were all excited about the show app, the iPhone app for the show. Did you get yourself all set up with that? What is it called? The directory app?
It's called the Guidebook. Oh, you're right. And yes, you have to download an app called Guidebook. If you have it left over from last year, it'll update itself. It'll be fine. And then when you go to the app, open it up, and it will ask you to download guides. It's the only sort of thing you can do. And then if you search for National Industrial Fastener, and it'll bring up the guide for the show in Vegas. And it's pretty useful, actually, because instead of having to carry around a piece of paper or something, you can actually make notes about things on the guide. You can post from that straight to Twitter, or if you want to. It's actually more useful than other people would think. Okay, if you can see it, there's a floor layout plan which you can, pinch out far enough. You can actually see some of the numbers, but it's not. It's worth actually loading. So it's called Guidebook. Available in the App Store, and there's a Android version too.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, no, it's worth it. Okay, and
Jackie doesn't like iPhones.
Okay, but yes, whether there's a BlackBerry version remains to be seen. Okay, however, it is worth going out and getting it. You may not use it, but you probably will. Okay.
Well, we'll be floating around out there, probably bumping into each other because we'll have our faces buried in our smartphones, but we'll see you there one way or another.
Right.
And of course, everybody's going to be talking about Brighton and Porteous. That's going to be the big headline. We're going to have more coverage on that coming up during Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report, and also with Rob Lucas during our feature segment. I want to divert from that subject, though, briefly, and put out a word of congratulations to our friends over at Field Fastener. Saw this a couple days back on Global Fastener News. Those guys just keep growing and keep doing well. Headline, Field Fastener makes Inc. 5,000 for third consecutive year.
Wow, that's sort of an achievement.
Jim and Bill Deary doing what needs to be done. Hats off to you guys.
Yep.
Hey, the Fastener News Report's coming up, folks. It's sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics. And I'd like to thank all of our other fine sponsors today as well. They are Stelfast, Trinity Hardware Headquarters, Buckeye Fasteners, Fastenal, Fastener Technology International, and Solution Industries. Also like to thank each and every one of you for clicking in and giving Fully Threaded a listen.
Yeah, thanks. And keep doing it.
And with that, here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. In just a few days, I will be boarding a plane and heading west to Las Vegas to focus on some fasteners at the National Industrial Fastener and Mill Supply Expo. The 2013 edition will have more exhibit space than any Las Vegas fastener show since 2008, and show management is expecting attendance to exceed the 2012 levels. My Vegas expectations are high, but they are not diverting me from my duty to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In our top story, we're going to get the battered September 2013 results of FDI, also known as the Fastener Distributor Index. We're also going to touch on the big news made by Brighton Best International and the Porteous Fastener Company. Also in today's report, we have newsmaker headlines from the Perryman Company, Freeway Rockford, Tester Manufacturing, Southwest Fastener, and the Valley Fastener Group. We also have a back page report on popularity polls. We will get to all of that and the Fastener Distributor Index results for September right after this.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or Fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting Fastenal.com today.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house, from over 125 different materials. And they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
Hi, this is Pam Berry with Women in the Fastener Industry. Wi-Fi invites you to our 4th annual speaker series and networking event at the National Industrial Fastener and Mill Supply Expo. Join us on October 23rd at 2 p.m. for a riveting panel discussion on making an impact in the fastener world. Learn from 5 stellar women as they share their expertise on manufacturing, importing, distribution, and repping. Bring your business cards and prepare to connect with other professionals during the Wi-Fi networking event, and win prizes during our raffle, which supports Wi-Fi scholarships. We hope you will join us on October 23rd at 2 p.m. Connect in Vegas at Wi-Fi. Visit fastenerwomen.com for more information. See you there.
You're listening to Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report on Fully Threaded Radio.
In September, the FDI took a header and dropped to 45.4 versus a 50.8 reading in August. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by BB&T Capital Markets and the FCH Sourcing Network, and it seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener industry. Could this poor number be the result of the government shutdown and the debut of Obamacare's $600 million healthcare website? To get the details on these subdued results, we talked to Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Hi, Holden. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Nice to be back, as always. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what happened in September?
I don't want to torture ourselves trying to figure out exactly where it came from. You mentioned a couple of easy sources to go to, shutdown, Obamacare, those sorts of things. I frankly think that the explanation is much simpler. In fact, when you think about some of the timing, I mean, in September, we're talking about a month where those two factors were nothing more than on the come rather than having any real bearing on the market, I think. And so, that's an awful fast reaction to something which has, people haven't even seen the actual effect out of. So I don't think we need to travel there. I think maybe as you get into October, November, December, when we see data at that point, maybe there's more of a message. But I actually spoke to somebody who sort of put it this way. He indicated that right now inventories are so lean and demand is just so stagnant that any period where you get a bit of a surge in activity is oftentimes followed with perhaps some destocking. So people might get a little bit excited, build up a little bit of inventory, not see that excitement sort of follow through, and then they work that inventory back down, or vice versa in any given month. And so, when you look at the results for September, the thing that struck out to me is there was only one metric that really changed. So even though the FDI overall went from about 51 to about 45, really breaking out of a range that existed for the balance of the year, only one of the components really changed in any meaningful way, and that was the sales bit. And if you look at the fact that sales were, 58.3 in July and 58.1 in August, perhaps what you've had is people perhaps building up a little bit, getting ahead of what might be a little bit better market, and then deciding, well, the market hasn't gotten any better, and therefore working the inventories back down. And what you might simply be seeing in this data is just sort of month-to-month fluctuations around product on hand, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it's. I think that we can probably look more at market dynamics, demand and supply and demand, and try not to torture ourselves finding more complicated explanations for what we're seeing.
Well, torture is a good thing to avoid. So maybe this is kind of like a case where the game is closer than the score indicates.
I think you're right. And remember, we tend to look at a lot of things. So the FDI is certainly one. We look at the national PMI. We look at industrial production. We listen to what companies tell us. And this is particularly topical because we just had Fastenal report earnings mid last week. And, when I look at the data, when I sort of soak it all in, to me, the main, really where the question marks lie is the fact that the PMI is reflecting very strong results. The national number is sitting north of 55 and it's been there for 3 months, whereas, the FDI and all other indices are continued to sort of point to a stable but very slow, stagnant growth environment. And that, to me, is where the intrigue is in the data. But when I look at Fastenal's results that they reported midweek last week, through September, they didn't look any different than they've looked in the many months before that. You saw a bit of a deceleration in their overall rate of growth in September. Comparison was a little tougher, but when you really sort of boil down to it, I think that the market, the more things change, the more they stay the same, I think. I think the market continues to be one of slow, stagnant overall activity levels at this point.
Yeah, you mentioned the PMI, and that's, really taking off, or really positive, and I think you're seeing a further divergence. The FDI, the Fastener Distributor Indexes.
Yeah, I think that there's one of two things happening here with the PMI. One possibility is simply that the PMI tends to be a 3 to 5 month leading indicator of industrial production, and so when you think about the fact you really only began in July to see these very strong readings north of 55. If it's a 3 to 5 month leading indicator, then you're probably talking about October, but more likely November, December, before you begin to see what the PMI is signaling to you. So overall, under that scenario, I would not be particularly surprised that demand is still relatively sluggish and such. The real question isn't what's happening in September or, frankly, even what's going to happen in October. The question is what's going to happen in November and December. And will you even be able to see it given the seasonal weakness that those months provide, or do we have to wait until January to really expect to see anything meaningful? But that's scenario number one. The second possible scenario is simply the PMI is a much broader sort of basket of end markets. And it's entirely possible that where we're seeing the strength and what is driving the PMI is markets that are in some way, shape, or form related to an improved housing market, which, of course, is not an end market of high intensity for your average fastener distributor. So, at this point, we don't know which it is. Again, very few companies that I deal with in the industrial world, are seeing anything remotely like what the PMI is suggesting. And, I think when we get into sort of November and December timeframe, that's when we'll be able to begin to say, well, is our little niche of the industrial world different and not performing as well as another niche that we're less exposed to? Or are we starting to see improving tone and the PMI is working as it's historically worked? And that's why Fastenal reported, and I didn't expect to hear anything good out of Fastenal. Grainger's going to report later this week. I don't really expect to hear anything good out of Grainger either, particularly given the government shutdown. They get 15, 20% of their business from the government. Some of that's federal. Can't imagine that's going well right now. But I'm more interested in MSC Industrial. When MSC reports at the very end of this month, they're the ones that might have some insight into sort of late October, early November, and that might be the first real bona fide opportunity we get to listen to a distributor that might have some feeling of better tone. Again, not predicting that. I just like to watch. But I think that MSC, much more so than Grainger or Fastenal, is the report I want to watch, because that's the one where maybe they're deep enough into the fourth quarter on which thesis the PMI is actually operating under.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what those results say and what comes forward. But I guess the conclusion you're saying is we shouldn't be too alarmed or too pessimistic about these results.
No, I think that's right. It's It's a single month. It was really contained to a single indicator. And let's not forget that when asked about the 6-month outlook, the responses are still generally favorable. In fact, 54% of the total responses when asked about their 6-month outlook in September, 54% of them think that the environment 6 months from now will be higher than it is today. So, to the extent that people saw a bit of a drawdown in the environment for current sales, they're not drawing the conclusion that that's pointing to a sort of a more durable downturn at all. So yeah, I think that's right. Anytime that you're taking 22 pieces of data and trying to draw a broader conclusion, you really have to look at the broad sort of scope of other data and resources. And when we look at the data, yeah, I think that the 45 FDI is 1 month. There's nothing about the composition or the 6-month outlook or other sources that we refer to that tells us that 1 month's reading is a trend.
Okay. Let's move on to the supplemental question. I know this time it was you asked people about the fate of master distributors, and that kind of ties in good with the big news between Brighton Best and Porteous Fastener. So what did you hear about in the supplemental question, and then maybe you can tie it into with the big news.
Well, that's right, because we've always wondered about the role of master distributors within distribution generally, because as long as we've been covering distributors, particularly the large ones that we tend to follow as public equities, one thing that they've always been doing is trying to keep more products themselves, source more products themselves, essentially going after the bread and butter of your average master distributor. And so if it's correct that the distribution industry is consolidating and one day you're going to have, very few, very large companies making up the bulk of the market, then, does that put the master distributor in an untenable position? And so I've always wondered about the long-term viability of master distribution. And so we kind of asked the question, about consolidation and what's kind of currently expected. And you allude to the merger of Porteous with Brighton Best, and this was asked before that actually came to pass, so I understand it was speculated for some time. Be interested to see if this changed. But the good news for masters is that you can really only find about 16% of the respondents to the question who indicated that they plan to reduce the use of master distribution because of their own internal strategies. So distributors who are taking it upon themselves to stock a wider range of product or source more product themselves, those are about 16% of the respondents. Those are the ones that could, viably reduce their use of masters. 16 is not a huge number, particularly when you consider that you're never going to get rid of master distributors completely anyway. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of risk there. Particularly with regards to the acquisition, I would also point out, however, that 31% of respondents did suggest that consolidation could be a cause of them using fewer master distributors. And I guess the lesson there is, they're going to be looking at a merger between Brighton and Porteous pretty closely, and to the extent that that in some way disrupts the market, increasing prices, what have you, then maybe that could get folks to sort of rethink their relationship with master distribution. So I think in that, perhaps there's a lesson for the Brighton boys to, perhaps move cautiously with what might be greater market share than they had previously. So I thought that was an interesting question, and it'd be interesting to see how that sentiment changes as Brighton goes forward as a bigger company. But at this point, I would say masters don't have a lot to fear. And we'll just something to keep track of over time.
Well, that's maybe good advice, as you mentioned. The Brighton boys ought to tread lightly that they don't get too big and too powerful. Otherwise, people will go elsewhere. But that's the beauty of competition and capitalism.
Well, I think that's right. The other thing to consider, we've talked many times on this show about the advantages that scale provides many distributors, right? The opportunity to service customers in multiple ways, et cetera. It's just big distributors like Fastenal, Grainger, and MSC, I think, have certain advantages. And in this Brighton-Porteous transaction, we may be seeing again, I believe that Fastenal gets probably sources significantly less of its product from master distributors than is true of your average smaller distributor. And as a result, whatever changes affect the market because of the merger clearly would be less disruptive to a Fastenal than it might be to a smaller distributor. So again, something to watch for, because there's multiple angles that this thing could ultimately take in terms of its potential impact on the market that, frankly, I think as much as anything, Brighton should be making sure to be cognizant of.
That's good advice. And I know, the next time we talk will be after the Las Vegas Fastener Show, so I'm sure we'll hear lots of opinions and lots of rumblings of what people are expecting. And I don't know about you, but I, for one, I'm hoping and probably expecting we'll get a bit of a rebound on the FDI next time around.
I wouldn't be surprised.
All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks for joining us in this episode, and once again for providing your insight on the Fastener Distributor Index.
As always, my pleasure, and we'll speak again next month.
Yep, talk to you later. That was Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Holden has a regular column on the FDI that appears in the print and digital editions of Fastener Technology International magazine. Next up, today's top Fastener Newsmaker headlines. Perryman Company in Houston, Pennsylvania is spending $40 million on new facilities and equipment to increase its titanium products capacity. The project will double the company's ability to produce aerospace fastener stock material and bar products for medical and other markets. When complete, 100 new jobs are expected to be added. Titanium fasteners are used in abundance on the new Boeing 787 and the Airbus A350 aircrafts, which are driving the demand for these fasteners. Freeway Rockford is adding a 12,000 square foot warehouse next to its existing manufacturing center in Rockford, Illinois. Freeway makes washers and fasteners for the automotive industry, and the expansion will allow the company to add more equipment and up to 10 new employees to help keep up with increased demand. The warehouse is expected to open in January. Tesker Manufacturing in Saukville, Wisconsin, has completed an expansion of its manufacturing facility. Tesker provides thread rolling die manufacturing and regrinding services for all thread rolling equipment manufacturers. In addition to making thread rolling dies and thread rolling equipment, Tesker refurbishes old cylindrical thread rolling machines. Southwest Fastener in Phoenix, Arizona has promoted Bobby Ramirez from within the company to help strengthen the outside sales force. Bobby has joined the outside sales team, and he will be supporting customers throughout Arizona. Valley Fastener Group in Aurora, Illinois has opened a new 40,000 square foot Forgo Fasteners Division manufacturing site and distribution warehouse in Naperville to allow for the consolidation of its warehouse facilities and to add manufacturing capacity. The four Valley Fastener Group divisions are Valley Rivet, North Coast Rivet, Forgo Fasteners, and the new VFG Adiabatic Precision Cut Division. And our top newsmaker headline is that Brighton Best International has acquired Porteous Fastener Company, as we've been discussing on the show. Announced under the slogan, Better Together, on the BBI website and via direct letters to their customers, Brighton Best International and the Porteous Fastener Company are becoming one, and they are clearly excited about the opportunities and efficiencies that the new acquisition brings. By uniting the strengths and diversities of the two strongest fastener master distributors in the USA, the resulting entity expects to become the world's most efficient fastener wholesale supplier. Barry and Bob Porteous have become executives of BBI, and both PFC and BBI have reserved exhibit space in Las Vegas, and many employees will be on hand to discuss the details of the new company. Finally, let's turn to the back page for a report on popularity polls. While observing the bold nonsense surrounding the government shutdown, the debt ceiling debate, and the website failures of Obamacare, the best thing I saw this past week was veterans taking down monument barricades and dropping them off at the White House. Washington, D.C. arrogance is clearly at an all-time high, but I think I may have figured out a key driver to our government blindness on both political parties. It's our nation's increased interest in the ever-changing and often suspicious results of popularity polls and the dangerous importance placed on them in place of reliable things such as truth, logic, service, and virtue. As I reported a couple episodes ago, all elected and appointed officials in all three federal branches of the government take oaths of office that require each person to swear to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. This requires not only an intimate knowledge of the Constitution, but it gives them a clear job description. But instead of following this job description, we have people strutting around the United States Capitol, addicted to gaining popularity and power. Their minds must be filled with questions such as, how can I get more votes? How can I beat the other party? How can I get more stuff for me and my state? How can I please my donors? How can we do things the way I want to? And how can I control everything? They are so focused on popularity that they have forgotten their duty, their place, and their limitations. On top of that, we have the media, expert commentators, and the public mocking anyone that attempts to do unpopular things like lead, stick to principles, or pave unpopular and difficult paths. Think of parents, teachers, coaches, neighbors, or business colleagues that you have admired and that have had the most positive impact on people, institutions, and society. Did any of them let popularity guide their understanding of right and wrong, their work ethic, their service to others, or their actions? No, it was their convictions to always strive to do the right thing based on truth, logic, service, and virtue, especially when it was unpopular or difficult. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Up next, it's industry pundit Rob Lucas. Let's hear what he has to say about the Brighton Porteous deal on Fully Threaded. When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Business is all about relationships. Relationships with our business partners, customers, suppliers, banks, employees, and our coworkers. Where do you go to get advice on the challenges you have with your business relationships? Hi everyone, this is Tom Buddenbaum with Technology Components Southwest and the NFDA. The National Fastener Distributor Association has hundreds of people who share your concerns and your values, and probably some of them also have experienced your challenges. Get advice, ideas, and inspiration from people who understand your business. Participate in the NFDA. Visit our website for details, website nfda-fastener.org, or give us a call at 714-484-4747. And save the date for our next conference, February 12th to the 15th in Palm Springs, California. This is a joint conference with the Pacific West Fastener Association, and it is sure to be informative and fun. Once again, this is Tom Buddenbaum for the NFDA. I look forward to seeing you on board soon.
Fastener friends, if you're looking to celebrate a big sale, or if you just want to unwind after a tough day on the job, do it with the golden brown goodness of Old Rusty Bolt beer. It is the finest tasting beer in the Fastener world because Old Rusty Bolt beer is brewed specifically to satisfy the palates of Fastener folks everywhere. That name again, Old Rusty Bolt beer. An Old Rusty Bolt added to every bottle to enhance flavoring. Get some today. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and your Holden Bolt Company, official Fastener show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt, the preferred beer of traveling salesmen. Tell them Rusty sent you.
Hi, my name is Mary Ann. I'm from Distributor Link Magazine, Naples, Florida, and it's the leading publication in the fastener industry, and we listen to Fully Threaded Radio.
Rob Lucas has been a frequent contributor to Fully Threaded Radio since our first episode. He's the proprietor of Fidelis Fasteners, helping distributors to go direct and guiding them along the path. And he's a keen industry pundit. You might agree with him, or you might not, but you have to agree he says what he thinks. And he thinks a lot about this stuff, folks. Rob Lucas, many people never thought they'd see this day.
No, I don't think that anybody had the soothsayer crystal ball to see this, Erica. It's certainly something that's came over fairly quickly. However, the last 5 years have seen a lot of this kind of change, and I guess it's the next phase of the fastener industry we'll have to deal with.
Now, you said it came quickly. Do you really think that? Or how long do you think these rumors were actually rooted in some kind of truth?
Well, when I say came quickly, I think the evolution of all this has happened relatively quickly. I think, ever since this business has been around for, decades and decades and decades, and it's principally stayed the same. But in the last, 5-ish years, it's changed dramatically, and I guess I would consider that relatively quickly. As far as this particular acquisition, I think that there's probably been some playing around with it for a while. It's pretty clear that I think most people had some suspicion that there were some talks going on, and inevitability ran its course.
How long do you figure it's going to take for Brighton to integrate Porteous into its infrastructure?
Well, I don't have the answer to that. It's still kind of clear to me, at least, as we sit here on the day after the announcement, what this means. Is it going to be a true assimilation, and are they going to eradicate PFC completely and it'll all be a Brighton Best, or are they going to keep the two entities running separately for some time? We don't know the answer to that yet, but it's certainly a monstrous amount of inventory and a heck of a task for them to get it all under their arms relatively quickly. And I think it's going to be probably a little bit of a problem for them. I take that back. It's going to be a big problem for them for a little while. And I would say 3 to 6 months before they really have a firm grasp of what it is, and that's an educated guess.
I think that sounds reasonable. We talked to Steve Andrasik at the top of the show, and of course their target date currently is the top of the year, and I think that's reasonable. So I don't know if anybody at this point could argue with that. So in terms of what you see overseas, that's where you're really in touch. You have a great network over there. What are you hearing? What do you think those folks are thinking?
Well, everybody has been relatively tight-lipped about it. I think that's because it's been, an upper-level executive decision amongst those two, and I don't think they're, most, or should I say, all of the vendors overseas knew about it. I certainly think that the cat's out of the bag now, and there's going to be, basically two camps. There's the camps of the vendors who can and do and will support a Brighton Best, and there's going to be, in some point in the future, a group of vendors who don't fall into that. And those are the vendors, I think, who are going to be looking for avenues to find supply and find a source or an avenue to sell into the States, because they're not going to have their traditional, big guy that's buying from them. And that has to happen, I would think. I think that there's, some, from what I understand, there's some investors overseas who are going to want to have their fair share of this business to be picked up so that they can increase their sales, but that's going to leave some others with some capacity that they're going to need to find homes for. I think if there's any good news out of it, I think that that's probably it. There will be vendors out there who are going to be competitive. They're going to have capacity. They're going to have the ability to supply some of those same parts that have been supplied to the market for the past decade. And they're going to be looking for new homes. So I think that's going to afford the distributor or someone else to tie themselves to those proverbial wagons and move parts in.
What do you see as some of the consequences of a further consolidation move like this, especially a huge one like Porteous? I mean, do you see this having a lasting impact in terms of what
the master distributors that are left are going to be supplying to the industry? I mean, this has got to have some impact on that, Rob.
Yeah, and I can only tell you what, my initial gut is. Again, it's, we're talking about it 24 business hours since the announcement in theory. It's been a weekend, but it's still relatively new. I don't think everybody has a firm grasp on it, but this is in my opinion, not good for the industry. You're taking away one of the premier suppliers that's been around for a long time. I think they did a really good job, and I understand why all this has happened, but it's still, when it comes to supply chain, you've reduced the suppliers by one. When you reduce, that's probably not good if you're the guy buying. You have less avenues to buy from. There's a lot of potential pitfalls and hazards from that, and I don't want to second guess what Brighton may be doing or willing to do. But just from common sense, you look at it and go, well, they're the only guy on one side. There's a handful of others, but they're really the biggest behemoth now, and they can really dictate where they want to go. There's some hint of that history through some previous entities that have done similar things. I'm not convinced that it's totally good. I don't think it's totally bad. I think there's a whole lot of inventory that they now own outright that's going to have to be manipulated and moved throughout not only their locations but to customers. There's going to be a lot of replicated inventory, so I think they're going to have to keep costs somewhat reasonable for a period of time. But I think long-term prices have to go up. They've had to go up anyhow. I think this just helps that expedite that process along. And to me, the pitfall of that is if you're a distributor or someone buying from them, you've got one less a component to go and ask for a quote for and see if they're on a level playing field. And of course, I talk about that. I've sent out some emails about this to my customers and others to try to inform people of that. But overall, I recognize it as being something that may not be that advantageous to everybody long term.
Yeah, I've talked to several people about that. I mean, in terms of Fidelis, maybe it plays into your hand, but I want to go back to whether or not that fear is really true. You said it might not be good for the industry. Can you expand on that? Why wouldn't it be good for the industry? And the reason I ask is, let me throw just a monkey wrench into that whole argument. We've had Ron Sackheim on the program a couple of times before, and his philosophy, which I call the Sackheim philosophy, would indicate that if a company such as Brighton, let's just say hypothetically, came in and dominated a portion of the market, raised prices, another player would come in as dictated by the nature of markets. Why is that not true? Why would that not be good for the industry?
Well, there's potential for that to happen, but the likelihood of it, in my opinion, is probably very slim. And the reason I say that is the economy. If you look at 7 or 10 year trend in this industry, and I came from, I had a stint at Heads and Threads, so I had an idea of where they were and where they're at now. It's night and day. And if I had a magic wand and someone said, here's $150 million, go start up a business, it would not be as a master importer, because costs have gone down, your holding costs have gone up, your turns reduce. It's very, very difficult to buy. And of course, you've got this entity that has clearly taken a pricing advantage in the market for a period of time. And they have clearly made their presence known and taken out some of these other players. That, to me, who would want to enter an arena where the chances of you making any real success might not be in your favor, considering the deck is stacked against you, so to speak?
Okay, that makes sense. So, who do we think this helps, and who do we think this hurts?
Well, that's a broad stroke. I don't dare make any type of a future forecasted guess, but I can give you my opinion. There's something to be said about this, and I've always said this. There is a need and a home for a master importer that has inventory that they buy in bulk and capacity and can benefit on cost to help out those who don't need that much bulk. There's a benefit to that. But when you shift the dynamic in the market the way this, in my opinion, has shifted it now, you really become a big box store. It's the next quote unquote Costco of the world. We've all seen studies done about when a Home Depot comes into a neighborhood and all these hardwares go out of business. Is this that kind of a beast? I don't know the answer to that yet, but it's pretty clear that beast is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And the larger they get, obviously, the more power they have. My initial thoughts on this are it's going to come down to what they see as a necessity to them. Will they continue to carry the amount of inventory and SKUs that they have today, or will they start to recognize, like every business does, that low-turning, low-earning parts shouldn't be dabbled in, and they go away? That's going to be a pain for somebody. It may be the small guys, but if that were to happen, there would be a lack of some of those products that have traditionally been carried by them. The other side of this, of course, is costs. With the amount of inventory and the amount of warehousing space, and now with the amount of employees they have, there's a whole lot of overhead there. That, to me, indicates you have to increase your prices to sustain that and make a profit. Those probably aren't good things for the guy who buys day to day.
So going forward, where do smaller distributors get those slower turning parts? I mean, how does that unfold in your opinion? I mean, where does that go?
Well, I'm not suggesting that's where it's going. I'm just suggesting that, if it just logically, why would you carry something that doesn't turn and you're not making your money on it? And if you did some research, 6 months or a year from now, and you found out that you got a part that wasn't turning and you only had one customer, more than likely you wouldn't buy it. So that's going to leave somebody without an avenue. The question then is, what happens to that, the demand for that part? Is it picked up and absorbed by somebody else? Does that one customer lose it, or does that customer, go direct? Or, God forbid they merge or are acquired by somebody else. I think you're going to see some more of that too. I think you're going to see distributors, merging and some acquisitions, especially with the way the economy is and potentially with what's going on in our government. All of these things don't point to a gleaming ray of sunshine. They point more to a ray of light that may be a train coming at you.
Yeah. And we've been thinking in those terms for a couple of years now, when one of the problems is I think a lot of us are hindered because we're always talking with one arm tied behind our back in what we can discuss.
Yeah, right. And I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy. Everything is not doom and gloom for me. I think there's a lot of positives out of this. I think that the positives are there's going to be avenues for people to find alternative sources to get their product from. And I'm certain that there's going to be things that Brighton or somebody else can do well, and there's going to be things that they can't do well, like everybody else in the world. Not everybody can have everything. I certainly think that that's the sales pitch, is that we're going to be this one-stop shop, but I just don't think that's realistic. And it's been carved into not only the fastener world but everywhere else. And anybody who's listening to this will know margin erosion has been a dominating factor for the last couple of years. And the days of the margins we used to see 10 years ago are probably gone. And more than likely, they're not going to come back. It's easy to lower prices. It's almost impossible to raise them. That's the environment we live in. They've benefited off of this. They've chosen that path, and this is where we're at. Because of that, I think it's going to open up some avenues for some vendors overseas and some overseas suppliers to be more aggressive. I don't know what that means. I'm doubtful that you'll see more brick and mortar being slapped up in the States from somebody overseas, but there's a potential for that. I just think it's going to make people think differently on how they buy. Nobody wants to have all their eggs in one basket. And I think that people are going to have to find whatever means are necessary for them to keep their operating expenses going and to make themselves fruitful.
So having said all of that, a guy like you in your position, have you seen any kind of a crest or a wave of people interested in going direct, or is that kind of stabilized, or where does that sit right now, Rob?
Well, again, we're just a few days out of this thing, but I have already today, my voice is a little bit off. I've been on the phone most of the day with people, either inquiring about this or looking for, some other options and maybe some potential sourcing solutions. So for me, I'm tickled to do that. I by no means think that I can do it all, and I know I can't, but there are a lot of things where I can help people to, at least get a better control of where they're at and have their own destiny. Change is inevitable. I talk about that all the time. We're going to see more change in the days ahead. And, for me, I'm optimistic. I think that there are going to be a lot of customers out there who are going to be looking for a way to change their model to protect themselves further. And I'm certainly hoping that I can, assist or in some way, shape, or form support them in that. And I welcome everybody to drop me a line, and you can pick my brain independently on what we think and where you think you should go. There's also another part of those people who are going to, play in the same arena that we're playing in today. You have to do both. I just want to see an industry that's settled, which I don't think we're at yet, it's going to be some time before it's changed. And I'm curious now as to what the next big announcement is going to be. We've had one about every 2 years now. So, there's other things I'm sure that are going to come down the pipe.
Yeah, good luck on stability.
It's certainly going to be a bumpy road. It's going to be an interesting balance of the year.
Well, having said all that, what's your overall read on the industry right now? I think you are a follower of the FDI, the Fastener Distributor Index, and in fact, we had a question that was very germane to the BBI PFC headline this time. And what's your take on that?
My take on the FDI or my take on the market in general?
Well, both, I guess. Sorry to for you two at once.
Yeah, well, my take on the market has been I'm a little bit more pessimistic than what I hear all the time. I mean, it really depends on what segment of the country you're at or who you're talking to. But I've heard the gamut. Guys that are doing the best they've ever done. I've heard guys that say it's okay, and I've heard guys that say it's bad. Okay to me is very ambiguous. It doesn't tell you much. Bad tells you that people aren't doing well, and people that say they're doing great probably aren't doing as well as they'd like you to think they are. And that's just the nature of this business, and that's just the reality of it. But the reality that I see is when you drive across this country, there is no real sign to me that there's a huge uptick or there's going to be demand. Sure, there's pockets. Ag has been busy this year because of the drought last year, but that's not going to last. Heavy truck has got some EPA things. So there's pockets of things that make sense. Some automotive has gone up. But in an overall scope of things, I still see us in a lull, and that's driven by the economy. It's also driven by what you and I like to talk about a lot, which is this Affordable Health Care Act and our government. People are holding their cash. Nobody wants to spend money unless they absolutely have to, which seems to be the pace for the rest of this year and potentially into next year, considering we have to see what happens here on the 17th. But all of those things tell me that there's not really any massive uptick and that we're just going to be gangbusters. And quite frankly, after this month, we go into November, December. You get a good week and a half out of November, and then pretty much it dies out for the holidays. That's very traditional in this business.
Right.
So we're going to see a slow fourth quarter. Next year, I'm kind of guessing pricing is going to go up, not only from suppliers domestically, which we've talked about, but also a cost of steel and things like that. I'm assuming I'm kind of banking it on some things have to rise up. We haven't yet seen what the U.S. dollar is going to do if we're going to keep printing money to buy our way out of debt or not. That's going to cause inflation, and we have to have that. I don't say that like we need it. It almost looks like we have to have a runaway inflation, just the way that our government has been printing money. So if all of those things kind of create a perfect storm, we'll have to see where it all goes. But I think the market's okay, and okay is ambiguous. It's not great. It's not deadly. It's right there in that, I would say, bottom of the good. We're alive and we're kicking and people are doing business, and I think people are turning a little bit of a profit. And for where we're at in the world, I think that's pretty damn good.
Well, we'll take that. And when I heard you talk about price increases, I was going to ask you about inflation, and you mentioned a little about it. I guess you answered part of my question, but you think that price increases due to inflation would be due to money printing rather than the Fed raising discount rates? It could
be both. I mean, I think if you took it all out of it, you still have to have a cost increase. The steel market has been relatively flat for a long, long time. And if there's any uptick in demand, knock on wood, we all hope that there is, you have to see some cost increases out of it for people to, turn a profit. And again, margin erosion plays into that. So people are almost demanding, to make more. But when you throw in interest rates and you throw in a Fed that's got its own troubles, I don't know where that's going, but it certainly appears to me that when historically, you and I have talked about this, when you print your way out of debt, inflation happens. If inflation happens, that's going to cause some people some real duress.
Even in the new economy, imagine that. Well, Rob, you're going to be in Vegas, I know. Fidelis Fasteners will have some presence there. What are you going to be doing? That's coming right up.
Well, I am going to be there, and I'm going to voice the same message now that I'm going to try to voice to everybody that I can talk to, which is, hey, I'd really like to talk to you about you and others like you, customer, about how we can help you out. There's not a perfect fit for everybody, and I'm very, very realistic. I can't do it all. Fidelis can't do it all, but what we can do has been to really help solidify relationships with customer and vendor. And I've seen over the years a lot of my close customers and customers who've been with me for a long time have reaped some benefits of that. And not every time are you going to reap benefits, and sometimes there's going to be a customer out there who has a better supplier than I do. I don't have them all. But I think with the army of tricks I have in my sleeve and the army of tricks that the customer has in their sleeve, between the two of us, there's got to be ways for us to help impact their bottom line. Anybody out there that's listening that has decision-making capabilities is going to understand that GP is the law of the land, gross profit. I believe there are ways to impact and improve your gross profit relatively quickly, and I'd love to help as much as I can to assist in doing that. And that's kind of the message I'm going to be out in Vegas. I'm not going to have a booth this year. And because of this news, of course, everybody is going to be probably jockeying for some market share. I'm as guilty as the next, but I think there's enough to go around. And to me, whatever we can do to support it and everybody is profitable on it makes sense to me. And one last sales pitch from the Fidelis side, it's relatively a risk-free scenario with us. I'm a performance-driven company. So you don't pay me a fee unless you reap some benefits of that, which means you bought something. The only reason you're going to buy something is because it makes sense for you. So if you're willing to take a look at that, there are probably some avenues where we can address some things and help you out. I've got enough background with overseas and enough background with customers domestically and sales, et cetera, that there are a lot of different avenues for us to help people out with.
How do people get a hold of you, Rob?
They get a hold of me by the website, fidelisfasteners.com, or you could drop me an email at rlucas@fidelisfasteners.com.
And we'll all be out there at the Vegas show this year. And my guess would be you'll be hanging at the Bourbon Room after the first big day of the show. What do you think, Rob?
I might try to swing in there. I'm certainly going to try to see as many people as I can. Take into consideration, too, there's probably going to be a great deal of overseas vendors that are going to have some people talk to them. And I'm going to do my best to at least ensure them that, because of these recent changes, there are still opportunities out here, and to make sure that message is said so that, they don't feel as if the door's been shut on them all the time, too.
Well, keep on doing what you do, Rob. We appreciate your analysis, and I'm sure that over the months, the backstories on all this are going to be opening up, and I hope you'll come back and share them with us as you learn them.
As always, I'd love to come back.
Rob Lucas, Fidelis Fasteners. We'll talk to you in the near future.
See you, Eric. Thanks much.
You know what they say about one door closing and another one opening up? Well, when we return, we'll close the door on episode 72. It's Fully Threaded.
Looking for package fasteners of all kinds? How about specials or unique parts that no one seems to carry? At Trinity Hardware Headquarters, we believe in parts done right, and our new catalogue is available online at trinityhardwarehq.com, featuring over 30,000 different types of fasteners available in package quantities, product kits, and assortments, including hundreds of hard-to-find parts as well as the most popular inch and metric sizes. Trinity Hardware Headquarters has locations throughout the Midwest and South, and over 400,000 square feet of warehouse space with 18 million pounds of fasteners ready to fill your requirements. Our featured products include number 3 and number 7 head plough bolts, grade 5 and grade 8 carriage bolts, hook bolts, tap bolts, and nuts and washers of all kinds, plus much more. Visit our website at www.trinityhardwarehq.com or give Trinity Hardware Headquarters a call at 888-232-1010. Trinity Hardware Headquarters, for parts done right.
This is Sue Rice with the FCH team. It's my job to make sure that as an FCH member, you receive the highest possible benefit from your participation in the network. Did you know that once you're logged into FCH, you have access to exclusive search tools, site statistics and tracking information about your inventory and source finder inquiries? It's all just a click away, and I'm happy to walk you through it. If it's time to refresh your inventory, don't worry. We'll run your listings through our scrubber software and get you up and running in a very short time. If you can attach a spreadsheet to an email, you can list inventory on FCH. We can also show you how to optimize your listings to attract the most hits for your type of fastener. Send email to Sue at fastenersclearinghouse.com and let me help you get the most from the FCH sourcing network. I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who have ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
When people think Fastener Talk Radio, they think, but then they think of fully threaded radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
This is a traveling salesman at Fastener Talk, fastenerblog.net, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, your online fastener amigos, back with you.
And fastener statistical experts. Hey, I just wanted to bring up an interesting point, which I sort of found after the last FDI number. And I went into the history of drill downs on Fasteners Clearinghouse and went back for 6 months so, and found there's a really close connection between the actual number of drill downs month by month and the pattern of those with the FDI index.
The FDI, of course, folks, being the Fastener Distributor Index, and Holden Lewis discussed that with Mike McNulty just a little while back.
Yeah, and I remember last month we saw that the number of drill downs had dropped a little bit, and I said I bet the FDI drops too, and so it did. Not that that's good, but it's an interesting connection to show how closely FCH reflects, I guess, activity in the industry as a whole.
Yeah, well, it's a leading indicator, I guess, that we're watching develop. And, of course, we can keep our finger on that pulse day by day, hour by hour, and we do.
Right, and we'd like to see the number of drill downs go up significantly, actually, along with the FDI.
I don't think you're going to get any argument from fully threaded listeners on that one, Bri.
Right.
I'd like to thank Rob Lucas for chiming in with his thoughts on the whole Brighton Best Porteous deal. That's something that we're going to be absorbing for a long time, and people are going to be talking about it quite a bit. We had an opportunity to query several industry heavyweights on this, and over coming episodes, I think we're going to have a little bit more commentary from some of them. We'll present a little bit of it. Other people are probably just going to be whispering in our ear on what it all means. But one person that folks will probably be looking forward to hearing is our friend Mr. Ron Sackheim, who we spoke with a couple of days back. He didn't want to comment right away, but he has told us that he's going to join us for the next episode and kick around some of his ideas for what this whole thing means for the industry.
And I might say, even though he hadn't researched it, hadn't enough time to research it properly, he made an extremely insightful comment that was been echoed by a number of other heavy hitters in the industry. really relating to the some of the past suppliers. It'd be very interesting commentary from Ron.
That's right. These companies are just not going to go away, and what their next moves are going to be remains to be seen. But I guess the fastener industry at this point is a spectator sport of sorts.
Right, yeah.
So once again, I'd like to thank Rob Lucas of Fidelis Fasteners for joining us on the show, as well as Don Shan, his crew members Kelly Polhars and Frank DeVito. Also, Mike McNulty with the Fastener News Report and BB&T Capital Markets analyst Holden Lewis. You guys did a great job as always.
Right.
The sponsors on today's episode of Fully Threaded Radio were Stelfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast. And Trinity Hardware Headquarters. Trinity, for parts done right. Also, Buckeye Fasteners, Fastenal, Fastener Technology International Magazine, and Solution Industries.
All of whom we hope to see at the show.
I don't think there's any doubt of that one, Bri. You can get with us, folks, at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We're also out there on Twitter under the handle Fully Threaded. So if we don't see you at the show, you can get with us that way.
Yep. Please, and as you know, you can the most convenient way of listening to Fully Threaded is as a podcast on your phone. However, a lot of people listen to us on their computers. Some we saw even this week doing that.
And you know, Bri, we've had a couple of people, we've talked about this on previous episodes, but folks have pointed out that the stream seems to be dropping occasionally, and we've asked for input on that. Haven't heard too much feedback on that, so I don't know if the problem has been resolved or if people just aren't speaking up. But if you do get a drop, let us know, folks, because we're really trying to make this experience as good as it possibly can be.
Right, and if you could, then if you have this problem, then just please tell us which, if you sort of know which browser you're using, because it's there's a few reported problems with the latest version of Internet Explorer. Including the one that's just came up the other day, which is if you use Internet Explorer to search Google, all the results come up garbled. That sounds like a really bad move by someone.
Yeah, well, you know, it's only 1995, Bri. I mean, the browsers aren't. Oh, wait.
Right, yeah. Oh, it's free.
Can you believe these guys are still going through this stuff?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Amazing they're still open for business.
Yeah, right. Now, another thing that you might just briefly want to know is that if you do listen to Fully Threaded in the car, depending on whether you have headphones on or not, or whether you use your phone for navigating, as I do, there's a great little thing that I've looked for ages that you can get from Brookstone. It's called an airframe. It pushes into the actual vents, and then you can put the phone, and that holds the phone. It's pretty stable. It's not as stable as something that screws in somewhere, but it's pretty good, and it's a little expensive for a piece of plastic, but it does its job great. And so if you're like me and you turn a corner and the phone goes flying off the center console into the floor somewhere, then this stops all that.
And what's it called?
Yeah, it's called an airframe. You can get it from Brookstone and get it online.
Sounds like a prime candidate for a 3D printing takeover to me, Brian.
Yeah, it's sort of, relative. I think it costs me $40 or something, which is a lot for a bit of plastic in the spring, okay? But it's also really useful to be able to have the phone up somewhere without falling off.
$40. Well, I am glad we're open for business, Bri, because we're going to need to pump a little bit more financing into the old cash box to take care of that one.
I know. This is right. I know it was a bit of a frivolous buy, but it actually works amazingly well. But I wouldn't normally spend $40 for a little piece of plastic, okay?
Oh, normal's so boring. And I think Fully Threaded Radio listeners have come to appreciate that about us, Bri.
Right. Irrational at times, okay? Unpredictable, that's right. But we're very predictable as to where we're going to be at the show in Las Vegas.
You got that right. And it's very predictable what's coming right now, because it's time to put episode 72 of Fully Threaded Radio in the can.
Till next time, folks.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. We'll see you out there in Vegas, and if not, we'll see you online. Until then, get out there and sell some screws, everybody.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
I can't think of anything else to say at the moment, okay?